betting show for week 4 of the college football season. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. I'll leave the audio up on YouTube and X. We went over kind of last week as well as some of the beginning 11 a.m. games for the upcoming weekend. So we'll just go ahead and do a rapid fire. Okay, it's working. I got confirmation that it is working. The video is working. I know people prefer like the video instead of the audio. I don't know. It depends how people consume their content. But for us, video worked well last week, the first couple weeks for us. So I'm glad it's working again. Technical difficulties out of the way. Let's just go rapid fire on the games for this week. And we'll start with Tulsa at Oklahoma State. Cowpokes laying 9.5 points. This is one of my best bets of the week, and that's Oklahoma State. I don't know where this love for Tulsa is coming from. I guess because Oklahoma State got killed by Oregon, which is not a surprise whatsoever. But Mike Gundy has been very vocal in his press conferences the past couple weeks, and this is a huge game for him. I think it's either win or leave town scenario for Mike Gundy. So I could see the Cowboys winning by more than two touchdowns. More than two touchdowns. I really like it here. We've been talking on the audio earlier on X and on YouTube, which is there, and we talked about it last week. For me, this is a coaching game, kind of like I called with Rich Rod last week against Pitt. I think Oklahoma State shows up big, especially it's going to be a night game, the last game before we get into Big 12 season, where they're going to have very tough schedule. I like the Cowboys here. I liked them when they were laying 13 points. It's all the way down to 9.5. I like it even more. I think they win by two touchdowns here. And why don't you go ahead and give the people kind of that update you had in the Iowa Rutgers game regarding Rutgers and their health right now?
So Rutgers, I previewed Rutgers this past summer, and the biggest discussion regarding the Scarlet Knights, outside of the increased difficulty in their schedule from last season, was the fact that they don't really have a lot of depth, specifically at offensive tackle. And they've already had a few injuries at offensive tackle this season. So that is something to monitor, not just for this game, but throughout the course of the season. I don't have any strong leans for this game against with Iowa against Rutgers. They do have to play at Rutgers, so obviously that increases the chances for the Scarlet Knights to pull off a slight upset here. Yeah. But no play for me here.
Yes, same here. I don't really have any leans. We talked about it earlier that my Iowa system is if the Hawkeyes are laying less than a field goal, it's probably okay to take them. Anything more than a field goal, I want nothing to do with the game, because their games always land between 1 and 3 points, and they're happy to win that way. They don't care about blowing people out. But it wouldn't surprise me if Rutgers won this one on the road. But you kind of talked me off of this one due to the lack of healthy offensive linemen that Rutgers has. This is one I'll probably just sit back and watch, but my main focus will be on the Oklahoma State game. No play for me on this one. And let's go to the next one. We kind of talked about it, but we'll go over it again real quick. And that's North Texas, Your Mean Green, traveling to West Point to take on the Army. Are they the Black Knights or are they the Cadets? Did they change that? Are they just not the Black Knights anymore?
No, they're still the Black Knights.
Oh, they are? Okay. And the Mean Green's laying 2 points. Why don't you go ahead and refresh the people on your thoughts on your Mean Green here?
So I've had a little bit of betting advice every single week for the Mean Green, and had I actually made a play every single week on UNT, each of those plays would have cashed in. Obviously, last week, one of my best bets was North Texas minus 5.5 versus Washington State. They covered that. I didn't even have to sweat it out at any point in the game. And then the week before, we talked about North Texas at Western Michigan. I was saying, look, UNT is the better team here. The right team was favored, but I didn't want to have to lay, was it 9.5 or 10, with the Mean Green playing away from home. As I discussed 2 weeks ago, UNT is not the best road team. So here we are again, North Texas, although only a short favorite this time, but on the road against Army. Look, similar to Western Michigan, UNT is a better team than Army. They are higher in the power ratings. That's why they are an outright favorite right now on the road in a true road game. But miss me with the points when it comes to UNT on the road. Would it shock me if North Texas sends another message to the country, because I don't think Army is great this season? So would it shock me if UNT wins this game and they cover? No, not at all. But I am just not going to include a UNT road game as one of my best bets.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you heard it from Mr. Mean Green himself. Andrew, hey guys, great weekend ahead. Couldn't agree more, Andrew. Congrats on your bet with Alabama last weekend. They beat up on Wisconsin. Let's see here. Okay, and the next one we went over this, but we'll just go over these again now that we're live and all systems go. And that's going to be the Iron Skillet Battle of the Iron Skillet. SMU Mustangs traveling to Fort Worth. TCU laying 7 points, a total of 63.5. What do you what's the info you have on this one, Connor?
These are the kinds of games that I will not be including as best bets. For one, it's a rivalry, although I do have a rivalry game as a best bet included later on in the show, but it's because of a team that I'm confident in against a team that I have confidence in that they're not going to be good this season. Hint, I included the team that I'm lower on as a best bet last week, fading them. So save that for later on in the show. But normally I don't do rivalry games. Obviously, this is a huge rivalry. This is going to be one of the last games between these two for a while, at least. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
So obviously this game is going to have its fair share of points. I don't think the SMU secondary can stop this TCU passing attack, but I do think the SMU offensive line can move the TCU defensive line. So I do think there's a chance that while TCU, let's say they get up by 10 or 13, 14, SMU could slow the game down a little bit, not a ton, because SMU is still much better offensively than defensively, but there's a slight chance SMU controls the line of scrimmage for a little while, and then they find themselves with an opportunity to not just backdoor and cover here, but to win this outright. When it's a touchdown spread, 6.5, the dog is obviously live, and especially in a game like this. So no play for me here. I don't have a strong lean outside of, hey, we're probably going to have some points. But the total is 63.5. Obviously, that's not rocket science. So no best bet here for me.
Yeah, and same here. I don't have a bet on this game. For me, can you trust Kevin Jennings? He couldn't close out the Baylor game. Way too many turnovers. Same story, different year. And TCU, I know it was against North Carolina, but the TCU offense is one of the best I've seen so far, from the offensive line to the running game, quarterback, wide receivers. The TCU offense is legit, and I think they could give this SMU secondary problems, kind of like you mentioned there. And I don't want to lay 7 points, but I feel like this is a game where TCU is going to take care of SMU. And Another thing to note is Rhett Lashley's been writing a lot of checks that he hasn't been able to cash, and I think this is going to be another one. And TCU, I think, is going to have their way with SMU. But again, I would look towards the total team. I think you mentioned the team total for TCU is 34.5. I could easily see TCU scoring 5 touchdowns.
If you do like that TCU team total, for those listening, you can find it at FanDuel over 34.5, but you are going to be laying minus 130 juice on that. So,
okay. And we had a little bit on the UNLV Miami game. Why don't you go ahead and take over on that one, Connor, with Rebs laying 2.5 on the road.
So our money line sprinkles were fantastic last week. This would be a money line sprinkle play for me. This is not best bet, so I'm not going to have this on our Instagram post, which we're going to be posting here in a couple of hours or so for tomorrow's games and for your game tonight with Tulsa, Oklahoma State. But this is one that just sprinkle a little bit on the Miami of Ohio money line, the home team here, short dog, and then call it good. So behind the scenes, how good has UNLV's opponents been compared to Miami of Ohio's opponents? Well, the answer is the Redhawks' strength of schedule has been much more challenging than the likes of UNLV's schedule. Think about UCLA. They've been one of the most disappointing teams, if not the most disappointing team in the entire country up to this point. Not that they had high expectations, but it just tells you how bad UCLA has been. By the way, going into this week, guess which team had, if you were to add up the closing spread, the closing number, and then the final result, UCLA had the worst ATS number. They were like minus 78 or whatever. So that tells you all you need to know about the Bruins. So and then we saw UNLV struggle in week 0. Sam Houston has been on. We were in fade train mode for Sam Houston this year, so we're not surprised with the Bearcats. But point being, UNLV's opponents have all been disappointing this season. Meanwhile, Miami of Ohio, while I figured their offense wasn't going to be as good this season, it hasn't been great. But guess what? UNLV's defense is not that great. Miami of Ohio's defense, though, is pretty good. So I guess this is one of those games. Sprinkle a little bit on the short home underdog, 2.5 right now. You can find Miami of Ohio plus 2.5. But just sprinkle a little bit on the money line, call it good.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with you. Yes, UNLV's 3-0, 4-0 maybe, but they've played the worst teams in the country, and that's UCLA and Sam Houston State. So getting plus 2.5 at home, a little bit on the money line, plus 210. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
Oh, and real quick, isn't Miami of Ohio is 0-2 coming off of a bye week, correct?
I don't know their schedule. I'm not sure for. I don't know for sure about the bye week.
I'll pull it up real quick here. Let's see.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and we'll confirm that, because if they're coming off a bye, that's. But UNLV is also coming off a bye, if I'm not mistaken. If they're only 3-0, then they're also coming off a bye. The Rebs are. Either way, though, I think. I mean, I don't think I'm going to bet on it, but if I was, I'd ride with you on the home dog.
You're right. Both teams are coming off a bye week, but what should be telling is you have a 3-0 team against an 0-2 team, and the 0-2 team is only a short home underdog. That's why this is a good money line sprinkle. Not best bet material. Have some fun, though, on the money line and call it good.
I like it. Now, let's get into another one. Syracuse, the Orange Men, travel to Clemson. Tigers laying 17 points. You go ahead and kick us off on this one.
I'm going to play this how the public would play it. How in the world is Clemson laying 16.5 to 17.5? This makes no sense. Take Syracuse and the points, right? Fade the public. Take Clemson here. This is one of my best bets for this week. There are multiple ways you can play this. I would consider all three of the following. First thing I would consider is taking the Clemson first half spread, which right now is at 9.5 at pretty much everywhere you look right now. I'm at FanDuel right now. You can find first half spread. You're only laying minus 115. That's actually gone up because it was just minus 110 like 20 minutes ago. So there is a little bit more money coming in on Clemson right now, which is why we're seeing that spread go up from 16.5 to 17 and from 17 to 17.5 pretty much everywhere you look. So yeah, take Clemson minus 9.5 in the first half. I would consider that. I would also consider taking Clemson's team total over because the Syracuse defense cannot stop anyone. So Clemson's team total right now is at 35.5, obviously above a key number there. It's currently getting juiced to the under. Maybe you wait on that, see where it goes. Maybe you just go ahead and jump on that number now. My best bet, though, and my ultimate play for this game, I'm going to take Clemson full game spread here, minus 16.5. The only place right now that currently has Clemson as a 16.5 point favorite is FanDuel. Yeah, FanDuel. So I would jump on that number right now because, again, everywhere else has Clemson listed at minus 17 or minus 17.5. Here's point being. This is a get right opportunity for Clemson. John, you and every single one of my CFE followers knows that I'm fading Syracuse this year. I'm not a believer in the Orange in 2025. They have a good coaching staff, but they don't have the Jimmies and the Joes on the field. Real quick, I'm sure people are going to say, but that Syracuse offense, Steve Angeli's leading the country in passing yards. There's a reason why he's leading the country in passing yards. It's because Syracuse can't run the football. This is
and
not
they
by
don't run
choice.
it.
This is not by choice. This is because they have to throw the football this much. It's by volume.
Yeah.
Angeli is not McCord. This receiving core is not what last year's Syracuse receiving core was. The offensive line is shaky at best. They haven't been able to run the football all season, and they're certainly not going to be able to run the football in this game. This game is going to be about, for Syracuse, can they keep Angeli healthy? Because Syracuse fans can attest to this. Angeli holds on to the football a little too long, too often. And he doesn't have the best arm in the world. He's a good, not great distributor of the football. He's going to pass 50 times a game. He's probably going to get his 300 to 350 yards, but the offense is not that efficient. The Clemson defense has not really been that much of an issue. Has it been a little bit disappointing? Yes, which is also another get-right spot for this Clemson defensive line against this Syracuse offensive line. This is a younger team for Syracuse going on the road against a veteran Clemson team that hasn't lived up to their full potential. And in a week where Dabo Swinney has been talking to the media like, you can write us off, blah, 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 right? John, I know you're with me on this, as maybe you have a best bet on this too. Give me Clemson minus 60.5 for the full game. There's no big game next week for Clemson. I believe they have a bye week. So at the very least, they're not going to take their foot off the gas early in the second half. So Syracuse might get some garbage time here, and I still don't think they're going to cover this number. Keep in mind, we're getting it below the key number of 17.5 or 17 here. So fire away at Clemson minus 16.5 at FanDuel. And for those that care about what other people think in regards to their best bets, remember the guy, John, that used to be on College Game Day, Chris Felica, also known as the Bear. Clemson minus 17 is one of his best bets. So
yeah, and we've talked about this almost every day this week, and I agree. Another game, another coaching game. This is Dabo Swinney, like you said, very vocal in the media the past week, very fiery. And I had Georgia Tech last week, as we know, but Clemson made me nervous. They looked really good. They came to play, but it just wasn't enough. And this week, I think they're just going to blow the doors right off of Syracuse. Steve Angeli, that offensive line looked very poor against Tennessee. So if they push the ball, Cade Klubnik as well is due for a big game. He needs it as they go into ACC play. This is an ACC game, but just like starting ACC play, they need a big game and to show the country that, Syracuse, or not Syracuse, but Clemson, they started off slow last year and they kind of crawled their way into the playoff. So I think they have a chance, but they have a lot of work to do, and I think it starts with this game. So, and you kind of touched on it. If you want to correlate your plays with laying Clemson in the first half as well as the full game, just to make sure you don't get backdoored because of the way Syracuse loves to throw the ball no matter what, we kind of recommend that as well. But Connor's best bet is laying the 17 for the full game, and I agree with them on this one.
In fact, but again, you can find a 16.5 at FanDuel. So I'll take Clemson minus 16.5.
There you go. All right, another 11 a.m. game, and that's Maryland Terrapins at Wisconsin to take on the Badgers. This is one of my best bets, and I'm taking the points with Maryland. I love the freshman quarterback, especially from what I saw against Clemson earlier, or not earlier in the week, but against Alabama. I was not impressed at all. Although it was a huge step up in competition for Wisconsin, I feel like these teams are more equal than the number shows. I was happy to take Maryland +7 earlier in the week, but now it's gone all the way up to 10, a little bit too far. So I'm more than happy to take the points with the Terrapins in this one.
Yeah, no play for me here, but this is a must-win game for both of these teams for their bowl eligibility hopes. We know about Wisconsin's strength of schedule, so yeah, if the Badgers don't win this game, So so John, if your bet is correct here, I don't think Badger fans are going to be too happy.
Yeah, no, not at all. Just like I wasn't very happy with them last week. So, but let's go ahead and move on to one of the biggest games of the day. And this one's also at 11 a.m. And that's the Texas Tech Red Raiders traveling to take on the Utah Utes. Utah laying 3.5, total 57.5.
No plays from me here, no strong leans. But do want to say, how about this matchup between the Utah offensive line against the Texas Tech defensive line? These are the two best respective line of scrimmages in the entire Big 12. And like they are legit nationally. I would argue that both Utah and Texas Tech, with respectively their offensive and defensive line, are at least top 10 in the country. I would argue top 5 in the country. I think PFF might have Texas Tech's defensive line rated number 1. Some of that has to do with the opponents that Texas Tech has faced, which leads me to my next point here. You're going to have some argue Utah's more battle tested up to this point in the season than Texas Tech. I don't really know that. We've just talked about UCLA several minutes ago earlier in the show. Obviously, the Bruins have been the worst team against the spread this entire college football season out of all 136 FBS teams. So I don't really know what team is better right now, but this will be a good test. So no plays for me here, no best bets, not even a single lean. But this is obviously a game that I want to tune into to see where truly both of these teams stand, and perhaps we can tail or fade one of these teams and result to what happens on Saturday.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I just want to check something on never mind. We're good. All right, we're good. But yeah, I agree. I don't have a bet on this game. This is one that we could have talked about on what we're going to have coming up is our Monday opener show. We're not going to have it on Sundays because we're busy with NFL stuff. But on Mondays, we're going to have our college football opener show, same time, around noonish. And I kind of would have played Texas Tech +4. This was on Monday, I believe. But now 3.5. I don't think I'm going to play this game. If I do, I would take the home team if it gets down to a field goal. But I don't know if I'm ready to lay it with Texas Tech on the road. This is a huge step up for them. This should be a great game, but no play for me so far on this one.
I'm gonna interject something real quick. So at the end of the show, we're going to highlight our best bets again and quickly go over them. Before we highlight our best bets at the end of the show, let's quickly go back and discuss how we did last week. I know we did that on our previous stream, but obviously we had some technical issues. So let's when we get to the end of the show, before going over our best bets again and highlighting those, let's discuss how we did last weekend, because last weekend was absolutely fantastic for us.
Yeah, no, we could definitely do that, and I agree. All right, next game is going to be at 11 a.m. Arkansas laying 7 points on the road at Memphis at the Liberty Bowl. This is one of my best bets. I'm taking the 7 points with Memphis. I'm not very, I don't. We talked about this last week. I don't trust Pittman and this Arkansas team. I do like Green as a quarterback, but what Arkansas team is going to show up? They played and they only lost to about, 7 points against Ole Miss. But this is a sandwich spot for the Razorbacks. They have Notre Dame on the road next week, which would make three road games in a row for Arkansas. So I like Memphis in this one. I think 7 points is just right on the spot, and it wouldn't surprise me if Memphis could get the outright win. This is a huge game in regards to the college football playoff. Obviously, they take one G5 school. Memphis could be that team. This is a huge game for them. If they can get this win, and the rest of the resume ends up being, one of the top, along with South Florida and maybe even the New Mexico Lobos. New Mexico could win the Mountain West, and I wouldn't be surprised. They look really good, but we'll get back to them later. But yeah, Memphis is one of my best bets. I'm taking the 7 points with the Tigers. What do you have? You have anything on this one, Connor?
This was one of my Category 4 games, golden opportunity games for the G5 against the Power 4 this season. So for those that don't know, I have my own college football Instagram page. You can pull it up. It's CFE Grind, as in College Football Encyclopedia Grind. And I made this G5 superlative post on my college football Instagram page not too long before the season began with USF and Boise State on that Thursday. I posted it, I think, a few days before that, or maybe like a week before that. But on that superlative post, I included 10 Category 4 games. And again, Category 4 games are the G5 against the Power 4 games in which I feel that the G5 team is live to win outright. And one of those 10 I had listed was this game. And part of it, John, was like you said, this is kind of a trap game for Arkansas. It's a good spot for Memphis. And again, it's a true road game for Arkansas. I say a true road game as in like, oh, this is a huge, tough atmosphere. No, but it's more of the spot here. And then obviously Memphis is always one of the more talented G5 teams in the entire country. This is a huge game, not just for Memphis, but overall for the American Conference. No longer the American Athletic, by the way. They don't like to be called the AAC
anymore.
Don't
like that anymore.
But yeah, I certainly think the Tigers are live to win this game. That's why I included it as one of those Category 4 golden opportunity games for the G5. But this is not best bet material for me. This is more like, hey, sprinkle a little bit on the Memphis money line and call it good.
Yeah.
And you can probably find some good prices out there. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm seeing plus 215 at Bet Online for Memphis money line. Which, I mean, 2-1, a little bit more than 2-1 odds. I mean, that's not terrible. And we went over it. Terrible sandwich spot for Arkansas. I could see Memphis winning this game, but as long as they keep it close, I'll be happy. Let's see here. Let's go
plus 220 at FanDuel for the Memphis money line.
Yeah, that's a good price. All right, here's another one, and
that's a money line sprinkle for me.
Yeah.
Like last week, we had several money line sprinkles, I believe, all of which cashed for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, this would be a money line sprinkle, and then call it good. So no best bet here, but again, have some fun with that on the money line.
All right, here's another one. I don't think you have anything on this one, but 2 p.m. tomorrow, Oregon State at Oregon, traveling to the Autzen Zoo. Ducks land 34 points in the Civil War battle. Any info on this one?
No, I don't have anything.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't rocket science. It's either lay it with Oregon or just don't bet it, because if you're betting on Oregon State, you got some cash to burn. Because that's, I mean, did Texas Tech cover against Oregon State last week?
I think they did. Yeah,
they did. Okay. All right, next game, 2:30, and that's the North Carolina Tar Heels at Central Florida. Central Florida laying 7.5 points. Tar Heels taking some money in this one. Do you have any info here, Connor?
This is a gross game. No, absolutely not.
Yeah. For me, I got the Tar Heels on my best bet list.
Okay.
I think I have not been impressed with Central Florida whatsoever this year. And North Carolina, they kind of bounced back a little bit last week, but it was Charlotte. But I feel like 7.5. We saw Jack State go head to head with Central Florida, and we haven't been very high on them. But North Carolina's, they've got running backs, they've got a quarterback. I think they can keep this one close. I don't know if I'll play the money line, plus 219, but I'm more than happy to take a touchdown with the hook. I got the Tar Heels on my best bet list.
So if you like North Carolina outright here, I can find you North Carolina minus 6.5 at FanDuel.
Okay. That's not bad. I do like 7.5. I like that number. But let's head over to the MAC. A little MACtion on a Saturday. Toledo laying 14 points at Western Michigan. Kalamazoo Rockets. You have any info on this one, Connor?
I love Toledo, as you know. I'm the Rocket Man in 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocket Man. Just play me some Elton John Rocket Man music in the background there. But no play for me here. I don't like taking road teams too often as best bets. I will have a
Yeah.
road team later on in the show as a best bet. My only road team I'm going to have as best bet material this week. I don't want to say that Toledo is not going to play their A-plus game. They've been showing an A-plus effort every week for the first time in the Jason Candle era. So that I'm happy with so far for the Rockets. So that's awesome. That's tremendous. That's really all I was asking for with all this talent that Toledo has this season, is just to bring your A game every week. And so far they have. That's a great sign. Western Michigan's offense does not have a pulse this season. They're a much younger unit. They lost a lot of their production from last year's offense specifically, but the Bronco defense has much improved because they were a porous defense last season, and they've actually been the strength of the team so far this season. No play for me here. I mean, you're looking at, you're probably the best number you can find Toledo out there is minus 13.5. If I had to guess, let me see. Pulling up some other sports books. Yeah, there are some 13.5s out. Well, there's only one. If you like Toledo minus 13.5, there's 13.5 at Bet Rivers for the Rockets. Otherwise, it's 14s, and there's a 14.5 at FanDuel. This is not best bet material. Not for me.
Okay. And I know you got something on the next one. 2:30 kick. Troy Trojans travel to Buffalo. Buffalo laying 5 points here.
Yeah. So this is a little bit more sicko mode. So normally my sicko mode plays include something with Southern Miss or Louisiana Tech this year. I love this Buffalo defense. Real quick, I know people are going to say, didn't Buffalo almost lose to Kent State last week? Yes, that's true. They did. Didn't they give up 28 points to the Golden Flashes, and they don't exactly live up to the golden part of their name? Yes, that's also true. This is a good bounce back spot for this veteran Buffalo defense. Look, simply put, they were not trying that last week. They were sleepwalking. It seems like Kent State, though, has found their quarterback. So that's good news for Kent State. But give me the Troy team total under 17.5. So a little bit more with this. Not only is this bounce back opportunity for specifically this Buffalo defense and a Buffalo program right now that has a defensive-minded head coach. So I know this defense is going to bounce back, especially at home. They have back-to-back home games upcoming, so it's a home game stand for Buffalo. Here's the thing about, wow, Troy total points. This just went up to 19.5.
19.5? Where's what book has that?
FanDuel. That went up from 17.5 just in the last couple of hours. Wow.
Pretty big move.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, especially because the spread did go from what, 7 to 5? 6.5 to 5?
The spread's still at 6.5.
Oh, on Bet Online, I'm showing Buffalo laying 5 points. So,
okay, so I'm finding 6.5 right now at FanDuel. Pulling up these other sports books here, going back and forth.
Was Buffalo laying the points one of your best bets or no?
I was thinking about it, but the real reason for that was I'm like, I don't have any faith in this Troy offense. Mm-hmm. Let me see what the best numbers. Yeah, Bet365, you can find Buffalo minus 5.5, Caesars Buffalo minus 5.5, DraftKings Buffalo minus 5.5. There's a 6.5 at FanDuel, 6 at Bet Rivers. The best way to attack this game, though, is the Troy team total under 19.5. 19.5? Are you kidding me? Okay, here's why. I'm pulling up news just to make sure. I don't know why this moved up. So this doesn't make any sense to me. So Troy's starting quarterback, Goose Crowder, got hurt last week against Memphis on Troy's first drive of the game. Mm-hmm. After that, Troy mustered barely over 100 yards of offense for the entire game. And about half of that yardage came on Troy's final possession. The only touchdown for the Trojans against Memphis last week was on defense, came from the Troy defense. This Troy offense going up against a Buffalo defense that wants to make a statement after their poorest performance against Kent State last week, now at home against a Troy team that is going to be playing is going to be in a musical chairs situation at quarterback, and it's not like they had a great offense beforehand. The Troy defense though is much improved from last season's kind of rebuild mode, especially in their secondary last season. So the best way to attack this game is to take the Troy team total under 19.5. That doesn't make any sense to me. So this number was at 17.5 for a while. Then it was at 16.5 for a short time. It got bet back up to 17.5 above a key number, which also doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe I'm wrong about this one, John, but I love this. I love this play. This just doesn't make any sense to me. So give me the Troy Trojan team total under 19.5 at Buffalo.
I like it. I like it. All right, next game at 2:30 is going to be the Auburn Tigers traveling to Norman, take on the Oklahoma Sooners. Boomer Sooners laying 7 points. You have any info on this one and your Auburn Tigers?
Well, you know who I want to win this game. But no, I don't have any best bets here. This is past. This is 100% a game you should tune into. Should be really fun, but this is not best bet material whatsoever for me.
Yeah, I don't have a bet on this game yet. I think this closes 6.5. I don't know. Oklahoma, they're going to be tested. This Auburn offensive line is the real deal. Their running game, but it's also a Jackson Arnold revenge game. Is he going to have a great game? Or is Venables, he knows everything about his ex-quarterback, and this Oklahoma defense looks like the real deal. This is a huge game regarding the SEC and college football playoff. It's basically a little mini playoff game. I don't know. I don't have a bet on this one. I think Oklahoma's the better team, and I'd rather, like I've said numerous times before, I'm not going to bet Jackson Arnold, although he did look great against Baylor, but Baylor's defense is pretty awful. Oklahoma's 100 times better on defense. So we'll see what happens here. I don't have a bet. I lean Oklahoma, but nothing for me in this one. All right, let's go to the next game, another 2:30 game, and the Tulane Green Wave travel to Oxford, take on the Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss laying 12.5. Any info on this one?
No. The Ole Miss quarterback that played against Arkansas this past week is once again going to suit up for the Rebels in this one.
This is not the same quarterback that started against Kentucky. I didn't watch the Ole Miss Arkansas game.
Yeah, so this is a different one. So the Ole Miss quarterback that played against Kentucky kind of got banged up. So they had another quarterback come in. He performed really well against Arkansas, but to be fair, that is Arkansas's defense, and I don't think Arkansas has a real SEC level defense this season. So I don't love this Ole Miss team this year. If anything, I kind of lean Tulane plus the points here, but it's a road team, and this is a so for those that follow my college football Instagram page, I had that superlative post. I'll go back to that post real quick. I had a get your popcorn ready kind of games for the G5 against the Power 4. Well, this is obviously one of those games that I highlighted. So this should be a really fun game. No best bets for me here. I have a lean towards Tulane plus the points, plus 12.5. I'm trying to see what are the best numbers out there. Bouncing between different sports books here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything on this game either. If I was to play it, I'd take the points with Tulane. Tulane destroyed Duke last week, which doesn't say too much in my opinion. I know Connor may disagree with that, but it's just not a game that I feel like laying, especially against the SEC team on the road. I've bet Tulane in this spot before, and they always lose and don't cover in the most brutal ways. So I want nothing to do with this one.
Here's what I'll say about Tulane. I think I said this 2 weeks ago. John Summerall is not a coach that I want to fade at all.
Yeah.
So it's Tulane or pass for me, but this is not best bet material whatsoever.
Yeah, and I thought he was going to be the next head coach of LSU, but LSU is off to a hot start. He may be the next head coach of the Florida Gators. We'll have to wait and see. All right. Well, let's see here. Here's another one. 2:30 game. Michigan Wolverines laying a point and a half on the road against Nebraska. You have any info on this one?
No, this is another one of those UNLV, Miami of Ohio kind of games where it's like play around with the money line with the home team, the short
Yeah.
home underdog. But other than that, one thing I will say about Nebraska, so I previewed Nebraska this past summer. The defensive line for the Cornhuskers is a legit weakness and concern for them this season. It showed up. It only showed up once because Nebraska has only played one team with a pulse.
Yeah.
In relative to their talent level, obviously, in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
In Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati's an improved team this year. I don't think they're a juggernaut by any means, not even in the Big 12. And that's a conference with no heavyweights, so that's kind of saying something. But Cincinnati was able to get a push against that Nebraska defensive line, and I certainly think Michigan will get a push against the Nebraska front. But do we trust a young quarterback once again going on the road? We saw the Michigan offense did not look good against OU's defense. That being said, I know Oklahoma's defense is on another planet compared to the talent that Nebraska has on defense. I also understand that. But you could also make the argument, hey, Nebraska's offense is better this season, and it's the third year of Matt Rule. And again, you have a younger Michigan team going on the road here. I get that angle as well. So this is a money line sprinkle or pass. So nothing for me. No strong leans. Certainly no best bets for me.
I agree. This one was, I would put it on my honorable mention list. It was between Nebraska and North Carolina. I like Nebraska in this spot for a couple reasons. I like Dylan Raiola enough. He's nothing special. He tries to be too much like Mahomes. He's not there yet, obviously, but he's only a sophomore. I do like Nebraska, but it's more so fading Michigan. Who's the head coach for Michigan this week and in this game? The mighty Biff Poggi from Charlotte 49ers. So are you really trusting Biff and Underwood on the road? We saw how bad Michigan offense looked against Oklahoma, like you mentioned, and Oklahoma defense is a lot better than Nebraska. But I feel like this is Nebraska's, we'll go ahead and say, coming out party for Matt Rule. He's finally got 2 bad seasons under his belt, and now if they can get this win, then they could be taken seriously in the Big Ten. Are they good? Are they better than Ohio State? No. But if you could get into that upper third of the Big Ten, you have a chance to make the playoff. And Nebraska needs this win. Like I said, this is me fading Underwood and Biff Poggi. Is that his last name, Poggi?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, give me Nebraska in this tight game. Again, it's mainly fading Michigan and taking Nebraska at home for me.
I like that. I like that thinking though. With the I like that with the coaching matchup there. That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm assuming he's coached the team all week due to suspension. So he's been there all week, and like I said, it's just not a good recipe for Michigan. I'm not betting Michigan, and more than likely, come Saturday, I'll have a play on Nebraska. Here's an interesting game. Purdue going on the road to take on the winless Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Notre Dame's laying 24.5. This one's interesting because Purdue, we kind of talked about it last week. Purdue kind of backdoored and covered against the USC Trojans. It took a miracle double reverse fumble for a touchdown, but they stayed within the number. And now Notre Dame coming off a huge disappointing loss to Texas A&M. Now they're laying 24.5 points. Again, I'm not betting Purdue, and I wouldn't use your money to bet on Purdue here. But I thought the line was kind of interesting. And I don't trust the Notre Dame defense whatsoever. We talked about this before the A&M game. That's why I didn't want to bet on Notre Dame because their defense is not even close to what it was last year. They finally ran the ball against Texas A&M, and they did a great job. But the defense just couldn't hold up against the speed of A&M, and I mean, I called that 100% last week. But you have any info on this one?
You know what? We're gonna Purdue. We're gonna take Purdue. No, I'm just kidding. No, I can't do it. No. If anything, I actually lean Notre Dame with the spread
Yeah, I
here.
mean they're due for a blowout win,
Yeah.
and they needed to get the train back on the tracks. Will they do it? I don't know. Nothing I'm gonna lay. I'll probably tune in to watch this either Saturday or watch it a couple days later. But yeah, no, thank you. I want nothing to do with that game.
Yeah. Let me clarify something for our viewers and listeners. This is not best bet material. I don't care what side you're on for this game.
Yeah.
This is a game that I would completely stay away from.
Yep, agree 100%. But here's a one that you might have something, and that's the James Madison Dukes traveling to take on Liberty. James Madison laying 9 points on the road.
You're right saying that I might have something on it. I did have something on this game earlier this week, but I don't agree with the money coming in on Liberty here. But this is no longer best bet material for me. I kind of want to wait and see what JMU does on the road against a middle ground team, because they've played a porous team early on in the non-conference, and then they play Louisville. I kind of want to see what they look like against a team in the middle pack of college football right now in the Liberty Flames. Now, here's what's noteworthy, and this is why, John, that I was leaning strongly towards James Madison earlier this week. Obviously, I think JMU is one of the best teams in the G5. I made that clear on my college football Instagram page throughout the summer. I even included James Madison's offensive backfield as one of my favorite position groups for an offense, and my favorite overall G5 offensive backfield in the country. They got legit depth at quarterback and running back, and they're good at the line of scrimmage. So, yes, I certainly lean James Madison here. Liberty, when you talk about the Flames this season, they've been one of the more disappointing teams in the country as well. All the focus is going to be on Clemson, UCLA, Virginia Tech, and probably rightfully so. But if you're looking at what G5 team has been the most disappointing, it's probably Liberty. They've played two rebuilding teams, believe it or not, in Jacksonville State and Bowling Green, and they lost both games outright. And there were a lot of people that were taking Liberty minus the points, not just assuming they would win outright. They were thinking they were going to cover, and they lost outright. In fact, they were down by double digits in both games early on. It's because this Liberty offense has not been good, especially at something that you would think a Jamie Chadwell team would do, running the football. They have not been able to run the football, which definitely scares me against James Madison and a JMU team that's coming off of a bye week. Yeah. So, obviously, all the metrics, all the numbers here point to JMU. But my question is, I know it's on the road. Why isn't JMU taking more money right now? I don't get it. So this is wait and see. This is kind of like Texas Tech, Utah. There's a lot of things that I know, or that at least that I think I know about these teams. But let me wait and see what JMU does in this game, and then from here on out, we may tail James Madison if they do come out victorious and they cover the spread here. So, is this going to be one of my best bets for this week? No. Would I recommend for those that are looking to bet something out there? Yes, I would recommend taking JMU to cover.
And what was the first half line? Because I know we talked about that earlier in the week.
That honestly might be the best way to play it. That's a good point. Let's see. James Madison in the first half, my guess would be like 4.5. First half spread. Yeah, 4.5 for JMU.
Okay. And that's something to look to as well, because in both of those games, Liberty started very slow against Jack State and Bowling Green, and it never improved. So, I mean, it looks a little fishy, but I think this is one where James Madison may just blow the doors off of Liberty. They have looked,
Very true.
they've looked awful. You couldn't pay me to bet on Liberty again. Fool me once, that was enough for Liberty. So, if anything for me, I'll roll with you with the first half because like I mentioned, they did start very slow in both of those games. So that's not a terrible way to look at that game.
So this will not be one of my best bets this week. So this is like, if not now, it's not going to happen for Liberty. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm ultimately going to stay off of this game. I
Yeah.
want to see how Liberty looks. If Liberty looks sloppy and JMU, like you said, destroys them, then you know what? I'm tailing JMU and I'm fading Liberty from this
Yep.
point forward. But this is wait and see what happens, just like Texas Tech, Utah.
Yep. I agree with that. All right. 3 o'clock. This is a pretty good ACC game, in my opinion. And I'm not really understanding the line here. And that's the North Carolina State Wolfpack taking on the Duke Blue Devils in Durham. Blue Devils are laying 3 points and continuing to take money.
I agree with that.
Really?
I think NC State's kind of phony. I like their quarterback, CJ Bailey. I
Uh-huh.
like the running back, Smothers. The rest of that team, I don't like them. Now, obviously, quarterback and running back has a lot to do with what a team does.
Yeah.
So they've got some dudes for sure. But NC State defensively is nowhere near where they used to be. If NC State had 60% as good of a defense as what they had in 2021 and 2022, this would be a good ACC dark horse pick.
Yeah.
But they don't have that kind of defense. Offensive line is receiving core is Now Duke is also kind of average. And Duke has not been good against the spread so far this season. But
No.
Duke is at home here. You can probably find some Duke minus 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was 2.5 basically a lot of the week, and I want to say all day yesterday. I kind of agree with you. North Carolina State's been tricky. I had high hopes and expectations for them this year, but they came out really. I wouldn't say they came out flat against East Carolina, but they definitely didn't slam the door on the Pirates. And then I mean they were in a shootout with Wake Forest. They didn't pull out until the last maybe 5 to 8 minutes of that game, and ended up winning. But I mean, Wake Forest scored what 28, 28, 24, 28 points on that defense. And Duke has shown that they can move the football. They got destroyed by Tulane, but with this North Carolina defense, Duke should be able to move the ball. But I want nothing to do with either one of these teams, even with the short number.
This is not one of my best bets, but if you're looking to get something in right now before these lines start really moving in the next trying to do the math in my head, over the next like 15 hours before kickoff or so, next 20 hours before kickoffs for a lot of these games tomorrow, I would consider Duke minus 2.5. You can find that at FanDuel.
Okay.
That's minus 124 juice, so that's not best bet material at all, because you're probably going to be sweating that out. But where I'm getting at with this is, John, I agree with the money coming in on Duke here. They're the better team. They just had so many self-inflicted wounds. Like from a play-by-play standpoint, they were right there with Tulane. They were right there with Illinois, certainly. So this is a team better than its record. So honestly, I would, if you can find a 2.5 out there, again, you can find it at FanDuel. It's just you're going to be laying some juice there. I lean Duke minus 2.5 there. Duke money line next week against Syracuse is probably going to be one of my best bets for next week because, like I said, I'm going to be fading Syracuse. We're going to see how they look. Obviously, tomorrow, my guess is they're not going to look good. They're going to be a little beat up. And here comes Duke that may or may not be coming off of a win. Obviously, I'll lean off of a win here against NC State, but they're going to be looking to get another win in their bag. So, yeah, Duke money line next week is probably going to be one of my best bets.
Okay. And okay, next game. I don't know if you have anything on this one. Northern Illinois travels to Starkville, take on Mississippi State. Bulldogs laying 22 points.
I heard some crazy stat about Thomas Hammock, the head coach for NIU.
Yep.
He is incredible as an underdog against the spread. Not that great, though, as a favorite. Why is that the case? Especially when he's laying, especially when NIU is a double-digit underdog. He's typically very good against the number. We saw NIU cover.
Great coach, yeah.
Yeah, he is a really good coach. I
We
I
talked about
totally
that
agree.
last week.
And he seems like such a nice guy, like a player's kind of coach. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely the kind of coach that I would want to play for if I was a player. We saw it
Who does Mississippi State play next week?
Tennessee, I believe.
Oh, okay.
It's
So
not a great
maybe a
spot here.
little look ahead.
Uh-huh.
You're getting, just over 3 touchdowns, something to look at in the 3:15 window. I don't hate it. Could they get blown out? Sure, but I mean, Mississippi State hasn't. Well, they look pretty good against Arizona State, but I'm probably not going to bet on it, but you never know. But getting 22 points in that kind of spot, it's not a terrible idea, but nothing for me though.
Yeah, nothing from me either. Um, I've already. We're gonna talk from last week later on in the show.
Yeah,
So I'll talk about a play that I made last week. It was my only miss. That I chose it because it was a good spot play. I thought I overthought it. This would be another one of those. Don't overthink it, or don't bet on a game that you're overthinking because of the spot. Bet
yeah,
on a team or a position group that you really like, and use like your priors, like your preseason stuff, where it's like, I love this position group or I love this individual, and this was a game that I was highlighting before the season began.
yeah,
That's what I've been going back on. It worked great for me last week. The only game I didn't do that for was the only game that I lost. So I'm going to stay away from. Ooh, they could backdoor here because of the spot for Mississippi State. So
yeah.
I'm going to stay away from that number.
Yeah, I agree, and that's a perfect segue into a 3:30 game, and that's the Temple Owls at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech laying 24 points against Temple, which is interesting because that's what the line was against Oklahoma. And
Yep.
Oklahoma is probably, in my opinion, one of the top 3, top 5 teams in the country. So that's an interesting line. But after last week, I want nothing to do with Temple for a while, maybe until conference play rolls around. So that was a pretty good segue. And I was definitely totally wrong about Temple. I thought that they could muster up, maybe 2 touchdowns, but no, Oklahoma didn't take their foot off the gas and kind of ran the Owls out of their own stadium.
Yeah, that just didn't go very well at all for either of us. We both had a best bet last week on Temple, and we'll discuss our best bets from last week later on in the show. But yeah, it didn't go well for either of us. So yep, I'm the same as you, John. I'm staying away from these Owls.
Yeah, I agree. All right, 5 p.m. game. Interesting time slot there. 5 p.m. West Virginia Mountaineers coming off a huge rivalry win. Travel to Lawrence, take on the Kansas Jayhawks. Jayhawks laying 13 points and taking money. Any info on this one, Connor?
I do have a lean here. It's not best bet, but I do have a lean.
All right.
I would consider KU minus 12.5, minus 13.5. You can probably find both of those right now.
Are they coming off a bye?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Because this was
Yes, they are.
what, 12 and a half earlier in the week. Now it's at 13. May close 13 and a half. Jayhawks taking money.
Yeah, so you can find a 12.5 right now. You'd be laying minus 115 juice, minus 12.5 at FanDuel. It opened at 11.5 earlier this week, and it quickly went up to 12.5, and it's been hovering around 13.5 for a while, and then it's recently moved down to 12.5 and 13 at some places. There's a 13 at Bet365, 13.5 everywhere else you look, but obviously not as much juice with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, minus 108 juice everywhere you look with 13.5. But I lean KU here. West Virginia, I still don't think is all that good. They won their Super Bowl last week, so good for them. But how do they bounce back after that performance against Pittsburgh? No clue. Exactly. I know KU's going to be ready to play, so I lean Jayhawks here. But guess what? It's a Big 12 game, so I'm probably not going to have anything on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on West Virginia last week. I was, it was kind of an up and down game. They were back and forth with their own starting quarterbacks. I think Rich Roddy played 2 or 3 quarterbacks in that game. But this is a tough spot. He's been going around talk. He was on. I think he's on the McAfee show, and then he was also talking about how Pittsburgh was kind of faking injuries or whatever. So last week I loved the coaching spot for Rich Rod. This week I don't like it so much because he's doing the opposite. Instead of being a focused Rich Rod, he's kind of living in kind of the glory of his victory on Saturday instead of moving forward. So with Kansas coming off a bye, I'm not going to lay 2 touchdowns, but I'm not going to back West Virginia though. That's even though it's 13 points, I kind of don't want to touch the Mountaineers here.
Yep, same here. This is a pass for me.
All right, and maybe our toilet bowl game of the week, our outhouse game of the week. Last week, our outhouse game was the UAB Blazers against Akron, and I believe Akron covered that game.
They did. Trent Dilfer once again did not cover. Everyone was well, not everyone, but there were a number of people that were taking UAB to finally cover, and I'm like, don't do it. Do not back Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, and just to notate or piggyback on that, UAB travels to Knoxville, take on Tennessee, and I think it's a 48-point spread. So they may cover, but that might be a Oklahoma Temple situation where it's 60-0, 70-0, and they're gonna hand UAB the check on the way out, and they're gonna be bandaged up. That game could get rough.
Yep.
But our outhouse game of the week, I'm gonna go ahead and name it. And that's going to be the Arkansas State Red Wolves laying 5.5 against Kennesaw State. Any info on this one?
This is another one of those, you know what, no best bets, but you want to have some fun with it? Moneyline sprinkle, Kennesaw State.
I don't hate it. I do not hate it. I don't hate that. I think that could be a pretty good little under the radar spot there for the Owls.
This was a game I was looking at in the preseason. I don't have faith in this Arkansas State team this season.
Yep.
They lost their Super Bowl last week against an Iowa State team that was coming off of their own Super Bowl victory against Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Iowa State was no doubt the better team from a play-by-play standpoint, but Arkansas State hung around, and you can argue if it weren't for some calls down the stretch, Arkansas State could have won that game outright. By the way, I'm probably going to be fading Iowa State at some point this season. I don't love tailing or fading any Big 12 teams.
Yeah.
I told you in the summer I don't have a lot of faith in Iowa State this season. They've overachieved, so their time is coming.
Sorry. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I cut you off there, but let me just go ahead and say Iowa State feels a little bit like UNLV. They're kind of beating up on these loser teams like Kansas State. They're terrible. Iowa, they're not terrible, but they're not good, and it was a rivalry game. So Iowa State's kind of I'd put them on fraud alert with you. I agree with you on that.
Yep, totally agree. So yeah, we may have something on Iowa State in the future. But Arkansas State's not very good, and now they're coming off of their own heartbreak defeat. Remember last week I said UConn's coming off of a heartbreaker against Syracuse. Watch out for Delaware on the road, right, with Delaware hosting UConn. Now Kennesaw State in a similar position as to what Delaware was last week. Only problem is you're not getting over a touchdown spread here. It's what, 4.5, 5.5, depending on where you live.
5.5, yeah, but at least you get more than a field goal. And if you add the money line to that as well, I was going to piggyback and I was going to bring that up. It feels just like that UConn Delaware game. And I think this might be our outhouse game of the week, but this could be a sneaky spot to back the Owls here.
Yeah, I would moneyline sprinkle Kennesaw State here.
I kind of like that.
This is obviously not best bet material. I'm never going to have a best bet for an outhouse game, but sprinkle a little bit with Kennesaw State. Shop around for the best price. You can probably find some maybe some plus 180s or something out there. Shop around for the best price, obviously, but moneyline sprinkle and don't sweat it out. Have some fun.
And this is a good segue because now we have Delaware traveling to FIU to take on the Panthers. FIU laying 5 points. Any info on this one?
Not really. I mean, I love FIU's coaching staff. They're at home. Delaware just kind of won their Super Bowl rivalry against UConn.
Yep,
So, yeah, I mean, I lean FIU here, especially at
first
home.
FBS win, if I'm not mistaken.
You're correct. Yep.
Okay.
So I lean FIU here, but when you're talking about these kind of Conference USA games, there is no way I'm making this best bet material.
Yeah. No, I agree. And this is like I said, I kind of talked about it last week. If this game was like on a Wednesday, yeah, I'd probably bet FIU. But since it's on Saturday, and I highly doubt I'm going to watch it, I'm probably not going to have a bet on it. But something else I want to mention about the Owls of Kennesaw State. Haven't they? You correct me if I'm wrong, but haven't they been pretty competitive this season?
They nearly took down Wake Forest.
They beat Wake Forest?
They nearly took down Wake Forest.
Oh, okay.
They lost like 10-9. But yeah, they actually played okay. I don't think Wake Forest is any good.
Yeah.
Wake Forest was competitive against NC State, but that was a standalone game on a Thursday. It was a big home game for Wake Forest.
Yeah.
They kept it competitive again. I don't think NC State's all that good. So I think everyone kind of sucks this year, though. I've said it. So there you go, except for Louisiana Tech's defense. So
yep. And here's one. We're getting into the 6 p.m. games. You may or may not have anything on this, but I just wanted to mention it. Coastal Carolina at South Alabama. South Alabama laying 15.5 points. And I believe South Alabama covered last week against Auburn.
They did. You know what was funny? We talked about it, how watch us, we're going to have the wrong game.
We're going to be on the wrong one. Yep. Yeah.
So
that's exactly what happened. We knew it. We knew it too. One of them was going to either Temple or South Alabama was going to cover, and of course we were on the wrong one.
Right. Yeah. We were that close to having a near perfect weekend, but we can't complain. It was a great weekend overall for us.
No, I agree with you on that. But let's get into this game where you may have something on, and this is another 6 p.m. game, and that's South Carolina Gamecocks traveling to the other Columbia in Missouri. Tigers laying 9.5.
So real quick, with both this game, South Carolina, Missouri, and Coastal Carolina and South Alabama, I don't have any best bets or even really strong leans this week for either of those games, but tune into those games because if Missouri covers against South Carolina and South Alabama covers as a 14.5 point favorite, there's a hook everywhere you look for South Alabama. And so if the Jaguars cover against the Chanticleers, we're going to be fading Coastal Carolina beginning next week, and we might be fading South Carolina also with their upcoming games in SEC play.
Yeah, and so I know you were thinking about it all week. Did you pull a trigger on this Gamecock game at all?
No, because Missouri's offense, I think they've played a lot of fraudulent defenses so far. Not that I think South Carolina's defense is as good as they were hyped up to be, but this is probably the best defense that Missouri has faced so far this season.
And I believe it looks like Lenore Sellers is going to play as well.
Yeah, and if Missouri covers this spread, I think that's going to tell me more about South Carolina than it will Missouri.
I mean, Vanderbilt beat up on them pretty good. I mean, Sellers went out early. Yeah. I believe the game was tied, or maybe it was a field goal game when he got hurt. But then Vandy just, they beat up pretty good on South Carolina on the road.
If South Carolina did not have Sellers, like coming into the season, like if I knew he wasn't a part of the roster, I would have faded South Carolina like crazy. Because not that Sellers is like some, incredible quarterback where he's slinging around the field and he's efficient, but he is such a good athlete. And when you have a transcendent athlete like that at quarterback, it can help a team overachieve. And so not having Sellers, South Carolina is a below average Power 4 team. That's a hot take.
Yeah.
But I think that's the case for them. With Sellers, obviously there's some high variance. There's still that low floor, but there's a little bit of a higher ceiling. Now, either way, I don't think South Carolina is as good as people have made them out to be coming into the season or hyped them up to be coming into the season. But again, for both Coastal Carolina and South Carolina, pay attention to their games this week. If neither comes close to covering, Like it's one thing if you're unfortunate to not cover, but like if you don't even get close to covering, right? Then they are in fade mode watch.
Yeah, I agree with that. Here's a game we kind of talked a little bit earlier in the week, and that's the Nevada Wolfpack taking on Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Hilltoppers laying 9 at home.
So this is similar to the JMU Liberty game, where it's like, why isn't Western Kentucky favored by more here? So that doesn't
Coming
make
off a bye? Are they coming off a
yeah,
bye?
they
Okay,
are.
yeah.
I don't get it. And there's more and more money coming in on Nevada. So this is another one. Let's wait and see here because in the preseason, I talked about Western Kentucky. I love McIver. I love the receivers. The rest of that team, I don't think is any good. I don't think the running game's good. I don't think the offensive line's that good. I certainly don't think the defense is any good. Nevada, great coaching staff, in my opinion. Obviously, not that much talent, though. But something that Nevada, you take this with a grain of salt, something that Nevada has been pretty good at under this coaching staff is slowing games down and keeping themselves kind of in it with an opportunity to win, at least against other G5 teams that aren't that much more talented than they are. Is there a chance of a backdoor here if Western Kentucky's defense is really just trash? It could be because who has Western Kentucky beat in the FBS? Sam Houston.
Sam Houston, that's it.
So how good is this Western Kentucky defense? I don't know. Now, not that Nevada's offense is going to give us a great litmus test for that, right? But still a good idea. This game will give us a good idea of, okay, Western Kentucky can at least do good against these kind of offenses. Like against the bottom echelon of the G5, Western Kentucky can actually blow the doors off of those kind of teams. This is wait and see. So if Nevada looks terrible in this game, guess what? We might be fading Nevada. If Western Kentucky looks great in this game, we might be tailing Western Kentucky in a few Conference USA games. So this is wait and see for me. But obviously, I lean Western Kentucky here.
Yeah, same. And I agree with all those points there. How good is Western Kentucky? They lit it up. They scored 50, 60 points, but it was against probably the worst team in the country in Sam Houston. So we really don't know how good they are on either side of the ball. So I think that might be one where we just wait and see. So I agree with you on that one.
I do think the game in McIver is really good. I just don't know about the rest of the team.
Yeah, exactly. Next 6 p.m. game, and this is the Boise State Broncos laying 12 points, traveling to the Air Force Academy. And it looks like Air Force is taking some money here. You have any info on this one?
Well, this actually Boise has been taking some money last couple of days. I think this opened at 8.5.
Really? I think I've only seen 12, so I don't think I saw the spread earlier in the week. So I'm not too sure what the opener was.
It just depends where you look. Let's see. There is a 10.5 at FanDuel for Boise.
I said, wow, that's a huge difference from this 12 on Bet Online.
And then there's an 11.5 at DraftKings, 11.5 at Bet Rivers, flat 11s at Bet 365 and Caesars. No play for me here. This is another this point in the season, a lot for conference play. This is okay. Let's sit back and watch and really see where these teams are in respect to their own conference race. Yeah. But we have some plays because we feel confident with some position group matchups or some very specific spots, like for a Clemson Syracuse, or some position groups like Buffalo's defense against Troy's offense. Right? Those are my only two best bets that I've given so far. I have two others upcoming. But that's at this point in the season, that's what I'm going with. As we get into mid to late October, we're probably going to have a lot more leans than we do right now.
Yeah, and my main take on this game was we saw Boise struggle defending the run against South Florida. So if Air Force can, get the ground game going, I know that they got beat up by Utah State last week.
Yeah.
So once I saw the score of that game, it kind of deterred me from the Air Force here. And I'll have to wait and see how these teams play. But my only thing is if Air Force can run the ball against Boise State, they could probably stay within this number. but not something I'm gonna bet on more than likely.
Right. This is going to be a situation where Air Force covers like backdoor or Boise blows them out. It's going to be one or
Yeah,
the other.
I could see that happening. Here's another stinker, and that's the Marshall Thundering Herd laying 2.5 on the road against Middle Tennessee State. I was kind of surprised to see Marshall favored in this game. You have any info on this?
Honestly, John, we might have 2 outhouse games this week. This is the
Yeah,
other
I
one.
mean, it's definitely up there.
This is similar to in terms of this is money line sprinkle. If you want to do that,
I think this is the actual outhouse game of the week because I think we like that Kennesaw State game a little bit too much to be an outhouse game. So I think this is probably the outhouse game of the week. Marshall, Middle Tennessee.
yeah, these 2 teams are just so bad. Hey, credit to Middle Tennessee. They came back in the 4th quarter against Nevada. That's probably the first positive for the Blue Raiders this season. So congratulations.
Hey, win's a win.
A win's a win, man. So congratulations to Derek Mason and the Blue Raiders. Now coming back home, hosting the Thundering Herd. Moneyline sprinkle here. No best bet here, but you want to have some fun with it? Yeah. Take the Blue Raiders on the money line. Should Marshall be favored against any FBS team not named Sam Houston?
Absolutely not.
Right. So, yeah, just have some fun with the money line. Call it good.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on this one. And who knows? I mean, I'd rather take Middle Tennessee with the spread and the money line as long as it's plus money. I'd rather bet that game more than, the Air Force, Western Kentucky games, even South Alabama. So when it comes around 6 p.m., we'll see what happens. And like I said, last week, a lot of these games that we don't have official plays on, I usually tweet them out on our Twitter account to just make them official. But they're just plays, not necessarily our best bets. But that might be one I pull the trigger on as well as the Kennesaw State game. So stay on the lookout for that.
Real quick, I want to say something. Oh, it's a question for you.
Okay.
It seems like Kent State has found their quarterback, at least for the time being. Do you think if they were to kick off tomorrow, neutral site, no crazy weather, we'll just say it's your average weather for a late September matchup, do you think Kent State would beat Sam Houston outright?
I do because at least Kent State put up 20-something points last week. I don't know. I mean, has Sam Houston even scored that many points? I think maybe against Western Kentucky.
Yeah, they got lucky. They had that defensive touchdown, so they scored a little bit against Hawaii. But it's a quarterback carousel at Sam Houston right now. I think their offense is no worse than it was last year, which is not really saying much, obviously.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked by the end of the season if Phil Longo has the offense okay, but the defense is just so bad. It's so bad. And their coach pretty bad overall everywhere. So, I mean, I can see an argument for Sam Houston, Marshall. Missouri State beat Marshall by 1 point. So, Missouri State maybe. So Nevada, maybe we'll see where Nevada is. Middle Tennessee doesn't look all that good either. There are certainly some
bottom 10.
Yeah, there's certainly some teams there at the bottom. And you know what? Charlotte hasn't looked good at all.
Did Rice end up beating them pretty easily last night?
Not easily, but Rice won and they covered. They won 28-17.
Oh, okay. I know a lot of money came in all week on Charlotte as well.
Yeah.
Once again, which there's somebody out there obsessed with Charlotte, and they keep betting them every single week, and they don't cover.
It's Tim Albin probably that they're backing.
Yeah, I don't get it, but I know you got something on this next game, 6:30 game, and that's the BYU Cougars taking on East Carolina on the road.
Can you find me any ECU plus sevens?
On Bet Online, I'm seeing 6.5.
Dang it.
Is what I'm seeing here. Yeah.
Okay. So if anyone listening right now, if you can find ECU plus 7, absolutely fire away on that. This is Moneyline Sprinkle. This is one of my 4 best bets. So I wanted to get back to my superlative post. I talked about 10 Category 4 games. And then in addition to that, I had 2 other G5 versus Power 4 matchups that were on my radar as well as potential upsets. Those 2 were Old Dominion at Virginia Tech. We just saw what Old Dominion did to VT this past Saturday. And then the other one was East Carolina over BYU. Give me ECU plus the points here. I question this BYU passing attack and really the offense overall. I don't think they're just going to be able to run the football down ECU's throat for the entire game. They might have their moments, like maybe at some points in the first quarter, you're like, BYU's going to out physical them. And then East Carolina, they come back a little bit in the second quarter. The East Carolina skill position, I think, is better than BYU.
Yeah.
I also have some questions in regards to BYU's secondary. Guess what the strength of East Carolina is? Their passing attack. So this is a huge game for East Carolina. Greenville is going to be going crazy with this game.
Night game too.
Night game too. Give me the Pirates, man. And I think the Pirates might find their treasure against the Cougars of BYU.
I like it. I like it a lot, especially because, we talked about this last week. East Carolina was very impressive against North Carolina State, and their quarterback, they had he's a sophomore. Is that right? He played last year as a true freshman. Is that correct?
Say that again. Who?
Is East Carolina's quarterback a sophomore?
No. So Caden Hauser is his name. He's formerly at Michigan State.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I know who you're talking about then. Okay. So he's probably a senior then.
Yeah, I'll look into it. I don't remember what grade he is, but I know he's an upperclassman.
Okay. But yeah, come around 6:30. Yeah, I think I'm gonna tail that with you.
Yeah, he is a senior.
Okay. And here's one that I do have a best bet on next 6:30 game, and that's the Florida Gators traveling to Miami to take on the Hurricanes. Hurricanes have been laying 7.5 all week. As of late last night, that flew to 9.5. Now it looks like Miami's laying 9 points. And even when this spread was 7, I had Miami destroying Florida in this game. So I'm not too scared off of the 9. From what I've read, Miami has about 20 top wide receiver prospects, if not more, going to this game. So there's going to be 100. There's going to be so many recruits there on the sidelines. We know Florida had a terrible game. Lagway had a terrible game. What do you have? 5 interceptions, and somehow they didn't lose by 50 points. I don't know how, but LSU couldn't capitalize. But yeah, this Miami offense is the real deal. Carson Beck has been very calm, cool, and he looks like the number 1 overall draft pick that we've, not myself personally, but that people thought he was going to play like last year at Georgia. But no, he needed one more year. He needed that Florida sunshine. And Beck's playing amazing. He's got speed all over the field, great running backs. Defense looks great. I love the way Miami looked against Notre Dame. They showed up and destroyed South Florida. I'm not afraid of this number. I don't trust Florida after what I've seen the last 2 weeks. I don't think they're just going to, especially with Billy Napier as their coach. We talk about coaching all the time. Do you trust Billy Napier to come back and look incredible after having 2 terrible games? I'm not seeing it. I think Miami destroys Florida in this one and really stakes their claim as the best school, best team in Florida. But they still have to play Florida State, who's undefeated, hasn't really played anybody except Alabama since the Alabama game. But I think Miami, people have them as top 5 team in the country. For me, they're probably number 1, number 2. You could say Ohio State's number 1. And for me, Miami and Oklahoma are probably 2 of the best teams in the country that I've seen so far. And Miami has been playing good competition as well.
So if you like Miami, I can find you, John, minus 7.5 at FanDuel, only minus 110 there on the juice. So
I like it.
Is that one of your best bets?
The Hurricanes are, because I was teetering between Miami, Nebraska, North Carolina, and I think I'll leave Nebraska as my honorable mention. I was thought about subbing them out with North Carolina, but I'm just going to go with my gut here and the Hurricanes beating up on the Gators tomorrow night.
Yeah, that'll be a entertaining game, even if it's really ugly, because there's going to be a lot of memes about DJ Lagway and whatnot. So
Yeah. All right.
real,
Here's the
if
next
you
game
like,
that you do
real
what?
quick, just for our listeners, if they
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
Florida, there's a bunch of 8.5s right now, floating around. Bet Rivers, Bet 365, Caesars, DraftKings, they all have Florida at plus 8.5. So if you like the Gators, you can fire away at those places. But if you like Miami, you can find a 7.5 at FanDuel.
Perfect. Yeah, and just going based off of the number, it's probably not best to even bet Miami right now because it looks like the numbers trickling back down with some money coming in on Florida. So I wouldn't bet Miami right now. I would wait a little bit, and this number could get a little bit close to that 7.5. It's been all week, so that's a good little note there. Next game, 6:30, Illinois Final Illini taking on the Indiana Hoosiers. Hoosiers laying 6.5 at home. You have any info on this one?
Go Hoosiers. I'm pulling for Indiana, obviously, here. Kurt Signetti. I'm kind of a Kurt Signetti enthusiast. I was all
There
over
you
Indiana
go.
last year.
Yeah.
This is a no play, though. I just kind of want to sit back and watch what should be a really good game here. But
Okay.
go Hoosiers.
All right. I don't have a play on this one either. If Illinois gets to 7, I might play it. Indiana hasn't been very impressive. But I'll be watching the Florida Miami game. I don't think I'll have a bet on this game, but it would be on the dog if I do. Arizona State at Baylor. This is a pretty good Big 12 showdown to see, who is the best team in the Big 12. There's plenty of them. Even Houston's throwing their hat in the ring after they destroyed Colorado. But looks like the Bears are laying 2.5, taking some money. This could close 3. I would imagine some more money would come back on Arizona State, and this, closes at 2.5. But you have any info on this one?
No, I really don't have a strong lean or a feel for this game. I really don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree because both of these teams are kind of, you never know what you're going to get. Both teams have a strong offense. Baylor's defense, in my opinion, can't be trusted.
Yeah.
So Arizona State has a chance to score some points. Total 16.5. So this, it's juice to the under. Will we see points? Maybe. Arizona took care of one of my best bets from last week, Texas State. Texas State stayed close, but they weren't really in it. Arizona State had complete control. I thought that could happen, but the spread lost by 2 points. We took a shot with Texas State and it came up just short. So, but on this game, if anything, I'll be playing the dog, but nothing for me so far.
Yeah, no play for me either.
Here's an interesting one. Stanford at Virginia. Cavs laying 16 points. I could be wrong, but did Stanford win last week?
They did. They luck boxed their way to a win.
Who did they play again? I forgot.
Boston College.
Boston ACC wins an ACC win, I guess.
Yeah.
If it even counts as an ACC win, I don't, because there's those Pac-12 schools, their schedules are all messed up.
I think it did.
It did. Okay, well, that's a pretty good win for
did.
Stanford. Yeah.
Yes, it did.
Because they were 14-point underdogs and they won outright, and they're 16-point underdogs in this one. Do you have any info here?
I lean Virginia for the first half, if anything. Let me see.
Okay.
Here. I don't think Stanford's really any good. I know they beat Boston College. You're going to have, especially in a season like 2025, when everyone's down, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're going to have even the worst teams probably win a stinker or two where it's like, really, they won that game? Well, everyone's got to win at some point in 2025.
Yeah.
John, dare I say, even Sam Houston is probably going to win at some point.
Yeah, you never know. I could see it. I could definitely see it, but probably won't be until the end of the season.
Yeah. This is not best bet material. It's a little bit too sicko for me, but I lean Virginia minus 9.5 for the first half spread.
Okay. Yeah. And there's only one reason why I personally wouldn't bet a first half, and that's because the Stanford offense, I don't think it'll be able to keep pace with the Virginia offense. So I can see Virginia kind of like pulling away in this one. And I believe they're coming off a bye. Virginia.
You might be right about that. Let me see.
I don't know if they played last week. If they did, it wasn't very. I don't think it was a difficult game. But this is way too many points for me, and I don't want anything to do with Stanford. Virginia's offense looks pretty strong. No, thank you. I'm not. I don't want anything to do with this one.
Virginia's coming off of a 55-16 win against William and Mary, and William and Mary is actually a pretty good FCS team. So,
okay. All right, we'll call this the Encyclopedia Super Bowl, and that's the Southern Miss Golden Eagles taking on Louisiana Tech Bulldogs in Ruston, and Bulldogs are laying 3 points here.
Kick back and watch it. These are two undervalued teams, but you can't butt heads with your two sicko mode teams from the preseason. Yeah. You just can't do it. So just sit back and hope for no key injuries. Both teams stay healthy. Both teams look good. Obviously, the Southern Miss offense against that Louisiana Tech defense is really the battle to watch there. But this should be a really fun game. The most
big Sun Belt game.
Yeah, it's right. Yes, right. Yeah. Yeah, but this is probably some people are going to say, really, dude, are you hyping up Southern Miss and Louisiana Tech? Yes, I am. This might be the most overlooked non-conference game in the country because all the quality non-conference games are going to get talked about. They all will. But this one won't. And I think this one is a quality non-conference game. So that in itself makes it a very undervalued matchup. So kick back and watch it. You guys know I'm going to be tailing both of these teams starting next week. I already have been with Louisiana Tech, and I especially will be for Southern Miss once they get into more of the thick of conference play.
Yep.
So I'll be tailing both these teams again next week, but I can't butt heads for this game.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. But I think you may have something on the next one, and that's another 6:30 game, and that's the Washington Huskies laying 19.5 on the road in the Apple Cup against Wazoo. You have any info on this one?
I sure do. DDSN Nation, what does CFE believe in this season in terms of fading teams? Fade Washington State. I said last week that I was wrong about Washington State hosting San Diego State, but I thought that had more to do about San Diego State than it did Washington State. Yep. And so I took UNT minus 5.5. I think we were on the right side there. So what are we going to do this week? We're going to take Washington, but listen carefully to my play here. We're going to take Washington in the first half, and I'll tell you why. So number one, obviously, we're going to keep fading Washington State. They've got a quarterback carousel. If you've ever seen a quarterback carousel, it's at Wazoo right now, and it's between a bunch of mid quarterbacks. You guys remember what happened last year for this rivalry game? Washington State went into Seattle and took down the Huskies. They had a goal line stand towards the end of the game. Now, Husky fans would argue they should have won that game. Maybe so, probably so. But it was still a competitive game. That was obviously a much worse Washington team. Now, they were in rebuild mode at the time against a much better Washington State team. Now it's Washington State, the host, but now Wazoo's going through the rebuild, and Washington's the much improved team here. I like Washington from their own team total perspective, and I like Washington State to fade. Obviously I like to fade Washington State here. But the reason why I'm going with the first half here, Washington's coming off of a bye week. You know who Washington has next week?
Who do they have?
Ohio State.
Ohio State? Oh, wow.
They're hosting the Buckeyes.
I forgot that's a conference game now.
So, yeah. So there's obviously some potential look ahead there, especially late in this game if it's already out of reach and I think it will be. But here's the thing. It's the Apple Cup. Washington is not going to sleepwalk coming into this game. They're coming off a bye. Jed Fish, let Jed fish for
Yeah.
Washington. They obviously have revenge on their minds. I interviewed some guys for Washington this past summer. Well, I interviewed one guy. I spoke with a few Washington guys this past summer, and they were all talking about this revenge spot. They know it's the week before Ohio State, but they're going to come out on fire coming out of the bye week, and that's what I expect here. I don't think Washington. You have that key. It's above a key number here, obviously, for the first half, above 10.5. So yes, again, it's above 10, and you have the hook there. But I don't care. That doesn't stop me from fading Washington State and tailing Washington. And starting this week, John, I'm going to be tailing the Huskies. I love Damon Williams. If you haven't heard or seen Damon Williams play yet, please watch Damon Williams against Washington State. He is get your popcorn ready quality for a quarterback. I think Washington is going to absolutely hammer Washington State. The only thing that scares me in terms of the full game spread, which is like 19.5, 20.5, depending on where you look, is Washington. If they're up by, let's say, 28, 31, 35, what happens late? Because you know Washington State, it's a rivalry game for them too. They're not going to ever quit in this kind of a game. And Washington might start to look ahead to Ohio State. Washington's winning this game. The question is by how much for the full game? I don't know. There could be garbage time. There may not be. Maybe Washington State is just that bad. They could be. Yeah. But I'll take Washington to take care of business in the first half. I know it's above a key number. You're not going to have to lay much juice, at least like minus 108, minus 110-ish. But yeah, I'm going on a tangent now, but give me the Huskies minus 10.5 in the first half at Washington State, the only road team I'm going to be tailing this week.
Yeah, no, I like that handicap. I agree with it, and I'll probably be tailing that with you. And something else to note, North Texas jumped out really quickly on Washington State. So that's another key point for a first half bet. North Texas, I mean, they I think they were up 14 points in the first couple of minutes of the game.
Yep.
All right, next game, 7 p.m. I just want to notate this one. Sam Houston State travels to Austin to take on the Longhorns. Longhorns laying 39.5. This was 40.5, 41.5. So Texas, who has been struggling offensively, goes up against probably the worst defense in the country. This is the one and only and probably the last time and last opportunity for Arch Manning to get his shit together and probably get some touchdowns. So if there was one time to lay a big number with Texas, it would be this one for a huge confidence booster going into SEC play. Am I personally going to lay 40 points? No. If I was ever going to lay 40 points, it would be this game. But yeah, I think Texas is their last chance to figure out their offense before SEC play. So we'll see how that one turns out.
Well said. My gosh. The Texas team total 45.5.
Yeah, so they're looking for a shutout, basically.
Yeah, so no play for me here. I mean, I think I said to you, John, like maybe 2 weeks ago, I'm like, I'm really interested on taking the Texas team total over against Sam Houston. And it opens up at like 42, 43, and it's actually been bet up.
Yeah.
No thanks. Staying away from this. I really wanted to fade Sam Houston's defense and take the Texas offense in this matchup.
Yeah.
But way to go, Vegas. They were right on top of this one.
Yeah, I agree. All right, here's an 8:30 p.m. game, and that's UTSA Roadrunners laying 4.5 on the road at Colorado State. I was pretty disappointed with UTSA so far. Mainly, I mean, they look great against A&M. They were very poor against Texas State, which that was the one game that's mattered so far this season. You hit the nail on the head and absolutely found the sneakiest of plays last week. And that was UTSA laying 13.5 against Incarnate Word. And UTSA blew the doors off. I don't even know what Incarnate Word is. They're like the Falcons or the some bird. What are they?
I'm going to pull it up. I actually don't know.
Incarnate Word. I think they're some bird.
Cardinals.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, and now UTSA is laying 4.5 on the road. For me as a fan, I'm just going to sit back and hope UTSA wins going into conference play. But there's no way. Last time I laid 4.5 with UTSA, they got their ass kicked by Texas State at home. So no, thank you. And I don't really know how Colorado State's been doing this year. Do you have any info on them?
Colorado State could be a little bit overpriced, not going to lie. So I've loved the Rams the last 2 years. I've been like the Ram enthusiast in terms of Mountain West play, but not this year. I don't think they really have the talent this season. The schedule gets a lot more difficult. The coaching staff, while having some pretty good talent, really individual talent the last 2 years, they haven't. Well, last year they did about what I thought they would. So, but in 2023 they were not as good as I thought they were going to be. Lost pretty much every close game. I think UTSA has the roster advantage and the coaching advantage, but I'm not crazy about tailing a road team in this kind of spot. So,
especially this number 4.5.
Yeah, I mean, I could see UTSA covering, obviously.
Yeah.
But something that I said in that video regarding UTSA, the conference future that I placed that back in the summer on DDSN with the we made a video for that. I talked about how I loved UTSA in terms of their room for growth from the end of last season going into the season, and I love their conference schedule, how it set them up. But I didn't love the non-conference, which is why I didn't take their season win total over. And this is partially the reason. I thought they were going to probably lose to A&M. They were going to be short home favorites against Texas State. They're going to be probably short road favorites against Colorado State, and that's what we've seen so far. So based on my priors, stay away from UTSA in the non-conference, at least against the FBS teams, obviously. Incarnate Word was a great bounce back spot. So that was predictable, but I'm staying away. I've nailed UTSA in terms of the non-conference play, so I'm going to stay away from this one.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And here's a late night game, 9:15. I don't know if you may have some info on this. Wyoming at Colorado. Buffs laying 13 points. I thought this was an interesting number. Obviously, Colorado's on a 3-game losing streak. They struggle with the run. They're going back to Salter at quarterback. Staub, I thought he made some pretty aggressive plays in the game against Houston. I thought this would be a nice game for Staub to start once again, but they're going back to Caden Salter. I'm not going to lay it with Colorado. You have any info on this one?
Certainly no strong leans, no leans at all. Obviously no best bets, but you know what? I've thought about it. I've thought about it. Do we want? Could this be a good long shot money line play here for Wyoming plus 400?
I don't know how good Wyoming is. That's the only thing. I feel like you've seen Wyoming play more than I have. I don't know how they played against Utah, and then they've played a tough schedule so far this year. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking the points with Wyoming. If they could run the ball, they could definitely cover this number because Colorado can't stop the run. They can't tackle.
Yeah.
It's an interesting game. Interesting number.
Game.
Because this was the same spread as Delaware, and Wyoming may be better than Delaware.
Delaware was 23.5 point underdog.
Oh, 23. Okay. I thought it was 13. Okay. Wow, that was a big number then.
You know what? Let's do it. Long shot. So this is obviously not best bet material, but sprinkle I don't know, pizza bet $5 or $10 on this just to see how it goes. It's a late night game. Don't sweat it out. Just have some fun late at night. And if you cash it, obviously it's you're going to bed happy. You're going to sleep real well tomorrow night. 100%. So yeah, long shot here. Let's go sicko mode. Let's take Wyoming on the money line here. So here's how these teams match up. You already talked about it, John. Wyoming runs the football. I don't think they're great at running the football, but they do try to run the football. Mm-hmm. Colorado struggles to stop the run. The defensive front is not quite as good as what it was last season, although I don't think the Colorado defense is bad. It's just not as good as what it was a year ago. Obviously, the offense has regressed. Here's the
Yeah.
thing, though. Wyoming gets that running game going enough to where they're picking up 3 to 4 yards in a cloud of Wyoming and a cloud of dust.
Yeah.
I think Wyoming has the skill players out wide to make some plays in this game. I actually think they have some legit athletes at receiver. Wyoming's defense, normally a strength, it's pretty good. And we've seen Colorado's offense, it's just not good. They still do not have an identity.
No.
And we're in the back half of September
They
now.
have a quarterback. They didn't even have they have 3 quarterbacks. They can't choose one.
Right. So Wyoming has an identity. I don't think they're great at it, but they do have an identity. They do have an identity.
Yeah.
I think Colorado is a complete mess right now. A complete mess. And no one's talking about this game. I know who is focused on, well, not saying Colorado's not focused, but I can tell you this is Wyoming. Well, I don't think Utah was Wyoming's Super Bowl. I think this would even be a bigger game for Wyoming just because of the national attention.
It's a winnable game. I think it's a winnable game.
It is. Like, think about it. They were home against Utah, and they were 23.5, 24-point underdogs. They're on the road against Colorado, and it's not even 14 and a hook. So
how much did they lose to Utah by?
I think the final score was 31-10.
Okay.
Let me see here.
Yeah, I mean
31-6. 31-6.
Like I said, I don't agree with Sanders unless Staub is injured. I liked what I saw from Staub. Unlike Salter, he actually takes chances and he runs the ball. Salter, I mean, I was amazed how terrible he played against Georgia Tech. He had open receivers. He wouldn't throw the ball. He just holds on to it, runs around. And I think Staub he's a pretty big kid. And he looked good against Houston. Of course, they weren't the better team, especially defensively. But, I mean, he made plays. So I don't understand them going back to Salter. And that's a main reason why I would like to back Wyoming in this spot, because you're right. This is a not a Mountain West, but this is, a Rocky Mountain showdown here. And this is a big game for Wyoming, especially if they could steal one. And a lot of pressures on Colorado. Like I said, they're 0-3. They're changing quarterbacks. And at almost 4-1 on the money line, I think taking Wyoming spread and the money line in a very late game like this, I don't hate it.
This is like complete sicko mode.
Yeah.
But you know what? We'll do it. We've cashed in on all of our money lines so far. We may not cash in on this one, but just imagine if we do. Yeah. And even if we don't, like if it's close, people are going to be like, okay, we are really paying attention to DDSN and what they have to say now. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah. And I could see why. I mean, Wyoming's got a, smart enough coaching staff to know, like, if we could run the ball 3 yards, 3 to 4 yards a carry, we have a chance to win this game.
And so people might, as they're listening to us talking about the long shot with the money line here for Wyoming, they're like, well, why isn't a best bet Wyoming plus 13.5? Yeah. Because if Colorado, like, if there is a game on their schedule where Colorado actually looks good and it's like, okay, they took care of business, it's this game. It's this game. So that's why you just sprinkle a tad bit. And when we say a tad bit, we mean a little bit, not even as much as a pizza bet on the money line, and call it good. Just have some fun with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And here's a game that I love. I really do. And it's a 9:30 p.m. kick. And my Cal Berkeley Bears laying 13 on the road against San Diego State Aztecs. We've talked about San Diego State, how poor that they look multiple weeks already. And California, I think they found their quarterback of the future. Hopefully he doesn't transfer like Mendoza did. But I think Cal's found their quarterback, and I don't know who they play next week. I don't know if there's a look ahead possibility for the Golden Bears, but Cal Berkeley, I wouldn't mind laying the points with Cal on the road. I like the way this offense is humming right now, and I think Wilcox has found his quarterback after Mendoza's transferred.
So after this week's game at San Diego State, Cal will then travel across the country to Boston College.
A winnable game. Long journey, but it's another winnable game for Cal. And I believe Cal has one of the easiest schedules in the ACC, I believe.
Yes, they do. Okay. I'm gonna try to find this real quick. So John, go ahead and talk about something so I can try to find this.
Yeah, so I really like the way Cal's been playing offense. They've been moving the ball. Yes, they may have gotten lucky with the fumble muff punt from Minnesota last week, but they still won the game outright against a Minnesota team that was undefeated and looking, had high hopes for the Big Ten this year, at least for their own standards. And Cal won that one outright. I was on Cal. +3 and on the money line. And we've talked about how poor San Diego State's defense is, especially against the pass. So if Washington State could have looked amazing against the Aztecs, this Cal team definitely can look amazing, even if it's on the road. That's not a far trip from Berkeley to San Diego. They'll still be on the West Coast, unlike next week where they'll be at Boston College, where they could have some weather. Yeah, I really like Cal in this late night game.
So I found what I was looking for. So,
Okay.
John, I sent you this message last fall. It was October 21st, 2024 at 9:15 p.m. Here's what I
Okay.
sent you. Way too early look ahead here, but California could have a lot of value next spring. And then you asked, are they bringing back a lot of the talent? Are they bringing back a lot of their talent? They didn't even need Ott this season. Isn't the quarterback a sophomore? And I said at the time we didn't know that they were going to have a transfer portal exodus, but I said they are slated to return at least a decent amount. But if they return a lot of this production for next year, they could be a sneaky good team. They've had a ton of close losses this year, and their schedule is pretty manageable next year. If Cal had kept a good amount of their production, this was a team I had on my radar. I was going to be all over the Golden Bears this season.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they had the max exodus, and everyone except for me were fading Cal. The reason why I was not on the fade Cal train was I was thinking, I'm like, look, I don't think Cal is going to be any good this season, but I don't think any of their opponents are going to be really that good outside of maybe SMU. So I'm like, yeah, this team could easily have a breakthrough season. Obviously, they have the max exodus, and so I was like, I'm just going to stay away. I'm not going to fade them. So, and look at Cal. A lot of people had those under 5.5 wins for the regular season, a lot of those tickets, and I don't think they're going to cash that. So.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. That just shows how good of a coach Wilcox is. And I believe their quarterback, I think we went over this last time. I don't know what his name is. It's like I don't know. Because he's got like 2 last names, I believe. But he's been great, and I like him in this spot, especially late night. I like it. And here's another interesting game at 10 p.m. tomorrow night. Michigan State travels to LA to take on the Trojans. Very late game for the East Coasters from Michigan. And the Trojans are laying 19 points. Any info on this one?
Was that USC, Michigan State, you were saying?
Yeah.
I lean USC here, but what happens late? Because at least what happens late in this game, I know it's a late start for this kickoff, but what happens later in the second half in this matchup? Because USC plays at Illinois next week, so this is maybe like USC first half or USC team total, and then just call it good. But those would be my leans, but this is not best bet material for me.
And Michigan State's undefeated as well, right? They're 3-0.
I think you're right. I think
because they did beat Boston College, I think, last week.
They beat BC a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Michigan State is 3-0. Yeah, Michigan State. They beat Youngstown State last week, 41-24. But I don't think Michigan State is as good as their record. So USC, meanwhile, I think is as good as their record. So
yeah. And something we brought up earlier was Purdue was able to backdoor, their 21-point underdog. They backdoored it. So maybe Michigan State can do the same here. In my opinion, it's too many points. I would back Michigan State, but we'll see what happens later tomorrow night. But right now, nothing for me. But Michigan State seems like too many points, and it keeps going up. So we'll see.
And what's the spread right now, you said?
19. USC's favored by 19 points.
Let me pull up some spreads here, see where I can find. Because I know some of our listeners are probably going to be intrigued by that game for one side or the other. So I'm going to try to look around to see what the best numbers are.
Yeah, because we have some pretty interesting late night games that start at 9 Central. This Wyoming, Colorado, Cal, San Diego State, Michigan State, USC, Fresno State, Hawaii. I mean, these are all like, if you're a college football fan staying up till midnight watching football, these are four pretty strong matchups to watch tomorrow night.
Absolutely. I'm pulling up some stuff. I'm pulling up some prices here.
Okay. And we do have a Hawaii midnight game. Fresno State laying 3 on the road against the Rainbow Warriors. Fresno State's been good. Hawaii's also been good. I don't know if Alahado's starting for Hawaii. From what I kind of gathered and read a little bit, either last night or a couple nights ago, that he was going to play, but this spread is telling me that I don't think that's official just yet. But this is an interesting spread that I'm definitely going to keep an eye on for tomorrow night.
So right now, if you like Michigan State, yeah, you can find a bunch of 18.5s out there. Did you say there was like 19 at
on Bet Online? Yeah, on Bet Online, USC's favored by 19.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense because there's, as you mentioned, John, there's a bunch of money coming in on USC right now. So they're currently 18.5 everywhere you look, except if you like USC, you can find 18 flat at Bet Rivers.
Okay. And I think a lot of people are making too much of the time situation. I mean, these are 18, 20-year-old kids. I don't think playing at midnight's that big of a deal. For Michigan State, I would almost guarantee you that they've probably been having late practices at night just to kind of get their body clocks used to it. So I think this spread is just going a little bit too far for USC here. They couldn't slam the door shut on Purdue. We'll see what happens in this game. But I wouldn't be surprised if I had to play on Michigan State tomorrow night. But nothing right now because the money keeps coming in on the Trojans. So I'll just wait and see until late tomorrow. You have any info on the Fresno Hawaii game?
Well, I lean Hawaii at home plus the points.
Same.
But this is not best bet material. But I love that Alejado is back for the Rainbow Warriors. So that's great. Great news for the long term of this season and potentially long term for his collegiate career. Because I love Alejado. I think he's what Hawaii is looking for. I think he's a really nice quarterback for the Mountain West. Yeah. A nice G5 overall, a nice G5 quarterback overall. But I don't think he's Power 4 material. Like he could be a baller.
He's a little small.
Yeah, and he gets beat up way too easily, as we've already seen this season.
Yeah, that Stanford game, he took a beating, and he looked tiny against Stanford.
And that was against Stanford.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like Alejado. He's a baller, man. He's fun to watch, though. So that's nothing against him. He's a really good quarterback. And again, he's perfect for what Hawaii wants to do. Now, I'll tell you what is legit for Hawaii. Their receivers are legit.
They got NFL receivers. That's for sure.
Yes, they do. So it's Hawaii or pass for me for this game.
I agree. So that's all of them. We went through all the games. So let's just go ahead and go over our best bets. I'll go ahead and run. Oh, go ahead.
Should we? Because I don't think we've talked about it on this live stream yet. Should we go back and discuss how our best bets did for last week?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, go ahead and start us off.
So, I was 3-1 on best bets. Let's see what I cashed. So, as we mentioned earlier, both you and I, John, were incorrect about the Temple angle against Oklahoma. But so I was incorrect about the Temple team total over 13.5. Yikes, that was a cold take on my end. So sorry, folks, on that. But I cashed in on my other three best bets. I took UTSA minus 15.5 against Incarnate Word. Didn't even have to sweat that one out. Mm-hmm. North Texas minus 5.5 against Washington State. That might be the most sure thing in regards to hindsight for a best bet. So that I didn't even have to sweat that out after the first quarter. 5 minutes into the first quarter, I
Yeah,
wasn't
5
even
minutes
sweating
in,
that
it was 14-0.
Yeah. And then I went sicko mode and took the New Mexico State team total under 15.5 at Louisiana Tech. Why? Well, for one, I really don't believe in New Mexico State. But two, I'm tailing that Louisiana Tech Bulldog defense this entire season. Outside of this weekend's game against Southern Miss, because again, I can't butt heads there with two sicko teams. But
Yeah.
starting next week, I'm probably going to be right back tailing that Louisiana Tech defense. But so, yep, 3-1 for me with best bets. And by the way, I don't think we talked about this either. The money line sprinkles last week, I think, were undefeated. I think they all cashed. I'm going to look at mine here.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about New Mexico 5-1. U of A was a small underdog. Who were the other ones? Cal Berkeley. I think the Vanderbilt, Old Dominion,
Yep. Southern Miss.
Southern Miss. I think we had a lot. I mean, the only one that I can think of that we didn't have was Texas A&M.
Right.
And I said, and I mentioned that they were
Oh,
live against Notre Dame's defense.
right. Oh, and then Delaware also cashed against
Delaware, that's
UConn.
right, Delaware.
Those were all some of our money line sprinkles advice that we gave. Again, not best bets, but just sprinkles.
Yeah, and let's not forget about Georgia Tech.
Oh yeah, that was your play. Yeah, I didn't have
Yeah.
that, but you did. So that was a really
Yeah.
good play by you. So
Yeah,
and then
and so I'll go over my best bets from last week. I went 3-2. Was definitely way off on the Temple game. I thought that they could like yourself. I thought they could score 2 touchdowns and cover this spread, but Oklahoma came to play. They were dominant in that game. I had Georgia Tech plus 3.5, and I also played them on the money line. And they were in a back and forth game with Clemson, but they held on, and it came down to the very end as a game-winning field goal to avoid overtime. I think that was like a 55-yard field goal, and they cashed. Tennessee covered, and overtime, they should have won this one outright. They squandered the lead late in the fourth, and I'll take the cover. And there was also Houston from Friday night, one of my best bets. I loved Houston. I didn't understand why people were betting on Colorado. So as I think I bet Houston, I don't know how many times because I disagreed with the line movement. And then I lost in a late night game, Texas State plus 17.5. I think that closed plus 18 or 19 against Arizona State. Arizona State ended up winning by 19 points. So that we came just short, almost backdoored it. But I'll take the 3-2 and go ahead and kick us off, Connor, with your best bets.
all right. So for my first best bet, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. I am laying 16.5 with the Clemson Tigers against the Syracuse Orange. This is a get right spot for Clemson, a veteran team. I know they haven't lived up to the hype yet for the preseason, but this is the spot to remind us like, okay, Clemson may not be as good as we thought they were going to be coming into the season, or at least what some of us thought, but they're not going to be that bad. And by that bad, I'm saying the bad where people are talking about Clemson right now in terms of not trusting them against this kind of number. This is also fading the public. Everyone is taking Syracuse to cover. There's a reason why this spread is where it is. And as everyone knows, at least of the CFE community, I'm fading Syracuse this season. So they should have lost to UConn, and Syracuse is definitely going to lose this game. And I don't think it's going to be close. We'll see if the Orange get a backdoor cover here. That would be the only thing that I hesitate about this. But at least this is a get right spot for the entire game for Clemson, and there's no look ahead. There's no big game next week for Clemson. So I think they're going to keep their foot on the gas for the majority, if not the full game here. And it's below that key number of 17. So I'll take Clemson minus 16.5. Next best bet, give me Troy team total under 19.5 at Buffalo. It's the Troy backup quarterback situation. They look bad against Memphis. And Buffalo's defense did not play well last week at Kent State. This is a bounce back opportunity for this veteran Buffalo defense at home, no less, against a Troy team, again, limping in with their backup quarterback situation. So give me that Troy team total under 19.5 at Buffalo. My third best bet, give me East Carolina plus 6.5 at home against BYU. This is a huge home game for East Carolina. It can put themselves on the map and put the American on even a higher pedestal to what they already are. I mean, the American's probably going to have the G5 representative this season in the college football playoff, but this would just cement them even that much more as the nation's best mid-major conference. So give me the Pirates plus 6.5 against BYU. BYU, they're a younger team at the skill position this season, and that's East Carolina's strength. So the question for ECU, can you take the physicality of BYU? Can you match up front? I think they can at least contain the BYU running game to where BYU is forced to pass when things ultimately matter late in this game. And I think East Carolina is live to win it outright. So give me the Pirates plus 6.5. BYU has not been forced to pass yet. They will be forced to pass in this game, and they're young. And the secondary for BYU has some questions. It hasn't been tested yet. East Carolina's strength is their passing game. They're going to test that BYU secondary. And then my third best bet, my fourth best bet, give me Washington minus 10.5 at Washington State. It's a rivalry, obviously. There's revenge on Washington's mind, but I'm taking the first half for Washington because the Huskies have Ohio State on deck. So I'm not sure how the third and fourth quarters of this game are going to look. I'm also fading Washington State. Once again, I'm the fade Washington State guy, as DDSN Nation knows very well. I'm fading Wazoo this season. So, yeah, give me the Huskies minus 10.5 in the first half. I think Washington puts away their rival early.
All right, I like it. And I like basically all of those. I think the only one, I mean, I don't dislike the Troy team total. I'm not going to play it. I'd rather lay it with Buffalo. That's just for me. But let's go ahead and get into my best bets. So mine starts tonight, and that's what Oklahoma State talked about it earlier in the show. I think this is a last stand game for Mike Gundy. If he doesn't win this game, if he doesn't blow out Tulsa, they may run him out of town, especially if they lose. So they're coming off a brutal, embarrassing loss on CBS prime time against Oregon. They lost by 60 plus points, and then they've had all week, last week and this week, to prepare for this game. In-state, I wouldn't call it a rivalry, but it's an in-state game, and I think Oklahoma State can win this by 2 touchdowns. I expect them to. Like I said, if they don't, there's a good chance Mike Gundy may be packing up his office tonight. So that's my first best bet. My second is Maryland plus 10 on the road at Wisconsin. I think the Terrapins can keep this game close and even win. I love the freshman quarterback for Maryland, and they're coming in under the radar. I was not impressed by Wisconsin last week against Alabama. Yes, it's a huge step up in competition for the Badgers, but I think this game is a little closer to even than the numbers showing us. I'd rather take the 10 points. I was happy getting 7, but now it's up to 10. Give me the Terrapins on the road. Number 3, Memphis Tigers, Super Bowl in the Liberty Bowl against Arkansas. A brutal sandwich spot for the Razorbacks. They had Ole Miss last week in a close one. They got Memphis this week, who's no slouch. And next week, they go on the road once again, take on Notre Dame. I think Memphis can not only win this game, but cover the spread in a close one. It's probably, if they're probably going to be a turnover away from winning this game outright. I like Memphis here, and Memphis Tigers are another G5 team flying under the radar. This is basically another mini playoff game for the Tigers. If they win this and run the table, they could punch their ticket to the football playoff. I was between my best bets here. Nebraska was an honorable mention, but I went ahead and stuck with my initial choice, and that was the North Carolina Tar Heels plus 7.5 at Central Florida. Bill Belichick is great against his former players and assistants, and Scott Frost played for the Patriots, or I believe it was the Patriots. But Scott Frost did play for Bill Belichick, and I think Belichick has figured it out after being embarrassed by TCU. Central Florida hasn't looked great. They struggled against Jack State and one other matchup. I can't remember who, but I think it's too many points here. Give me the touchdown and a half. with the Tar Heels on the road. And last but not least, number 5 is Miami Hurricanes. This was at 7.5 earlier this week, shot up to 9.5. Now it's trickling back towards the Gators, but I think this is a game Miami's going to win by multiple touchdowns. I think they have one of the best offenses in the country, led by Carson Beck, finally looking like the top quarterback prospect that we expected for the last couple years. He's got plenty of speed on the outside and at running back. I really like this Miami defense as well. They're very fast. They fly around. They're going to have, I think, 20 of the top wide receiver recruits in the country on the sideline. Plenty of opportunity to show out. Florida threw 5 interceptions and somehow still didn't get blown out by LSU. That game could have been a lot worse. I don't think Lagway is going to throw 5 interceptions again. But do you trust Billy Napier getting this team ready after 2 awful weeks to all of a sudden look like one of the best teams, or to defeat one of the best teams in the country in a rivalry game? I don't think so. I'm laying the points with Miami. Another game I think they could win by multiple touchdowns. And those are my 5.
Okay, so I'm looking up the best numbers for you, John.
Okay.
Okay. Wow. It's amazing how much difference there is with the Maryland-Wisconsin game at different sports books. So I can get you Maryland plus 10 at DraftKings, oh my gosh, plus 10.5 at FanDuel. I'll give you that.
Oh, wow.
So here's what I got for you. You got Oklahoma State minus 9.5.
Yep.
Maryland plus 10.5. Memphis plus 7.5. Okay. North Carolina minus 6.5 at UCF. Is that correct?
No, they're plus. They're plus.
They're plus?
Oh, okay. Yeah, they should be underdogs. North Carolina.
Maybe I just read that wrong. Let me see.
I hope so. At least that's what I. Yeah, they're plus.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Which is Florida's favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, North Carolina plus 7. Yeah. There's no way North Carolina would be laying.
Yeah, there's still 7.5 on Bet Online.
Okay, 7.5.
Yeah.
Wow.
Minus 120, but still at 7.5 though.
Okay. And then I've got you with Miami minus 7.5 versus the Gators.
Oh, where do they have a 7.5 at? FanDuel?
I think it was, yeah. Um, 7.5. FanDuel and Bet365 and Caesars.
Oh, Caesars.
Pretty much everywhere. DraftKings has it as well.
Wow, I'll take it.
Wow, there's been some movement there in the last hour since we last talked about that. So, yep. So I've got you down for those 5. I will go ahead and make that graphic here before I get.
Oh, going. Yeah, and Bet Online, they're down to 7.5 as well.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, that's happened within the hour. Yeah.
So I found the best numbers for you. So yeah, perfect. Just to clarify, I've got you down for Oklahoma State minus 9.5 versus Tulsa tonight. Maryland plus 10.5 at Wisconsin. Memphis plus 7.5 hosting Arkansas. North Carolina plus 7.5 at UCF. And then Miami, you're laying 7.5 on the Hurricanes against the Gators.
Yep, and that's everything that I had. You have anything else you want to end with, Connor?
I love our moneyline sprinkles. The Wyoming one is like sicko mode. Like, hey, no one's talking about it. Watch it happen. Nobody was talking about Colorado State a couple years ago, and they were 22-20. Well, actually, that game did get talked about a little bit because of some off the field stuff that was said. But no one was giving Colorado State a chance.
Yeah,
and they should have won. Much less just they obviously covered. So, that's kind of sicko mode-ish, but I've seen Colorado in these spots not look too good before. And Wyoming, I think they're back. Not to the full degree, not to when they had was it his first name Craig. His last name was Bull. It's the
Oh,
previous
Craig
head
Bowl,
coach.
yeah.
So they're not back to that Wyoming, but I think at least the Cowboys have their identity back because they did not have an identity last season. So they have that back at least. Colorado, as we've discussed time and time again, we figured it was going to be the story this season for Colorado, and it has been. They don't have an identity. So yeah, I sicko mode there. But yeah, I like my four best bets. Clemson minus 16.5 versus Syracuse. Troy team total under 19.5. And then ECU plus 6.5 versus BYU.
Yep.
And then Washington minus 10.5 at Washington State. Let's have another great weekend, John.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's have another great weekend, and hopefully we're having that same conversation come Monday.
Last thing, do we want to just highlight some of our money line sprinkles?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't remember them, but I'm sure you probably have a better memory on that.
Money line sprinkles. Let's go with Miami of Ohio over UNLV.
That was one.
Nebraska over Michigan.
Kennesaw State was one.
Kennesaw State over Arkansas State. Yep. Let's see.
Hawaii.
Yeah. Hawaii hosting Fresno.
There was another one.
Yep.
East Carolina.
Yeah, ECU over BYU for sure. Middle Tennessee over Marshall.
Yep. Wyoming.
Yeah, Wyoming, of course, against Colorado. Let's see. Did you have any plays or picks or leans for Arizona State at Baylor?
No, I didn't. I said if we can get up to a field goal with ASU, I'll probably be on them, but I would need 3 points. I don't think Baylor has a great home field, not like Mississippi State. So I think Arizona State's a live dog in that one for sure.
All right. We will not include that though for the money line sprinkles, as we don't really have a strong lean there. But yeah, we like our money line sprinkles, and obviously we went sicko mode with Wyoming. But we definitely think that's more of like don't sweat out the spread. That's not best bet material, but it's like where is Colorado right now, and Wyoming's maybe slightly better than the market thinks, kind of thing. So
yeah, 100%. But yeah, that's everything that I had, Connor. If that's everything that you had, we could wrap it up and wait and see what happens, and we get started tonight.
Love it. I will go ahead and start working on that graphic, and we'll get it posted. I'll try to get it posted sometime this afternoon or this evening, but I will definitely do it before the clock strikes midnight.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Sounds good. And I'll be making the reels and stuff for YouTube. And yeah, we should be good. And we just got to see what happens with these games. I'm pretty confident in what we have. And then we'll have our college football opener show starting on Monday. And then we'll see you back here on Friday.
All righty. Sounds good.
All right. Good luck to us. We'll see you. Thank you all for tuning in.